Thanks, Tim. And thanks everyone for listening in on this quick presentation, followed by questions if anyone has any. If we can go to the next slide and the one after that. These are our key messages. I understand there are a number of people who have probably been following Galileo for a while, and I thank you very much for your support. Then we've got people that are new to this story. So I'll quickly go through these key messages, and if you can remember any of these going into the future, I think my job will have been well done. We are well supported. Our largest shareholder is successful mining entrepreneur Mark Creasy. Our second largest shareholder is IGO. We have high value palladium and nickel targets, and I think we've demonstrated that through the discovery we've made at Norseman. Everything we do here is Western Australia. We have a track record of running multiple drill campaigns throughout the year. And because of the discovery we made at Norseman in May, we now have ongoing drilling for the foreseeable future, and we have 2 rigs on site as of this moment. We have an early discovery market valuation. It looks potentially to be very economic, and we hope that with additional drilling, we will increase the size and understanding of what we have in the area. We've recently undertaken a $20 million placement, and we have around $25 million cash on hand at the moment. Next slide, please. Quick snapshot, and as Tim mentioned, we have had a very quick price appreciation on the back of the discovery we've made at Norseman. And that's why we undertake exploration, is to develop those resources needed in the future. And the risk reward profile for investors is such that if we make discoveries and continue to make discoveries, the value creation involved with that activity can be very high. So we have a current market cap of around $200 million. And I mentioned Mark Creasy, our major shareholder, 26%, and IGO at 8% of the stock. Next slide, please. We have a 4-person board. After we made the discovery, we brought in Cecilia Kamari, who's our non-executive director and a lawyer in Perth here. She specializes in mining law. Matt White, our CFO and COSEC, Noel O'Brien, who in particular is very skilled in metallurgy, which is an important element for the work that we have coming up. Noel spent 30 years in Africa and has a lot of knowledge about the mining of palladium and platinum in that area. So we'll get into some more details about the similarities we see between what we have at Norseman and what is in South Africa. But Noel will be very important for us going into the future. And then we have myself as a professional exploration geologist. Next slide, please. Everything we do is in Western Australia, and in particular, if we focus on Norseman and the amount of infrastructure in the area, you can see we are operating in a very well-developed mining space. There are a huge number of mines in the area, and on the slide there, you'll see we have a selection of mines. There are literally hundreds of mines from very large to very small in that region. It is based on mining. The towns there were built on mining, and we think it is very, very pro-mining district and one of the best places to operate in Western Australia. There's a gas, water, and rail within 5 kilometers of the project, and there's a deep water port of Esperance 2 hours to the south. We also have the Fraser Range project, which we are still actively exploring. Of course, the large Nova mine that's operating there, owned by our second largest shareholder, IGO. Next slide, please. And the next slide. This is a more detailed look at the region around Norseman. I mentioned the amount of infrastructure in the area. The tenements are also prospective for komatiite style nickel, for lithium. We've even had sniffs of pegmatites through the area. For gold, and for nickel, cobalt, laterite mineralization. What we are focused on at the moment is the palladium, platinum, gold, rhodium, nickel, copper mineralization associated with sulfides at the base of an ultramafic sill. So it's a very good prospect to be working. And if we go on to the next slide, you'll see here that we have undertaken a large amount of RC drilling already, and we are continuing to drill at the moment. The discovery hole was 33 meters at just over 2 grams 4E. When we talk about 3E or 4E, what we're saying is really it's 3 elements or 4 elements. It's a convenient way of describing the overall mineralization of that intersection. So in our case, when we say 4E, that's palladium plus platinum plus gold plus rhodium. The other way we report is 3E, where we initially get the results without the rhodium. So 3E is palladium, platinum, plus gold, and of course the copper and nickel that is associated with it. One of the great things we've noticed about the mineralization so far is that it is very consistent. It's a large blanket of sulfide mineralization within an ultramafic sill overlying a sediment. And everywhere we've drilled today, we keep hitting that sulfide zone overlying the sediments. We are seeing some variation in the metal content within that sulfide zone. And with additional drilling, we hope to understand in more detail how the metal content is changing through the earth. And most likely it has a plunge component to it. Once we understand that metal content, we'll be able to focus on those zones that have the highest economic potential and drilling along strike to see how it repeats and changes along to the north. Next slide, please. These are the two sections to the north. These were drilled on a very tight spacing because of the program of works. The approvals we had from the mines department at the time only allowed us for quite a small area of drilling. So initially we did 50-meter line spacing and 50-meter holes along the line. We now have approvals to drill up to 2 kilometers along strike to the north. And we have pending approvals to drill up to 5 kilometers, which is the entire length of the prospective horizon in that area. Next slide, please. In geology, we like to look at global analogies because or even analogies within Australia itself. We couldn't find any analogies within Australia. So we looked to South Africa. I mentioned before, we have a director who spent 30 years in South Africa. And what we found is that there are some deposits in South Africa that have a similar style of mineralization. The similarities include the disseminated nature of the sulfide mineralization, the metal contents, the types of metals that are involved with that sulfide. In our case, it's palladium, platinum, rhodium, gold, copper, and nickel. These are the same as what we see in the Platte Reef deposits in South Africa, although the ratios of those metals are different. Why we look for analogies is because it helps us understand the potential in the area. We know that the South African deposits are very extensive, so that gives us the hope that the mineralization at Norseman will be similarly extensive, and therefore we should go out and explore in much more detail. So that's why part of the reason we raised the additional $20 million. So we now have the financial flexibility to go out and drill those targets we believe have the potential to host a lot more mineralization. The other thing about the Platte Reef and the similar nature of the sulfide mineralization is we hope the similarities will flow through into metallurgical test work, which we intend on undertaking when we have good quality diamond drilling. And we have started diamond core drilling. If we go on to the next slide, please. Oh, sorry, that's okay. We'll just mention that we are undertaking diamond drilling at the moment. We've got a 2,000 meter program of diamond drilling. We've got 10,000 meters of RC drilling that's currently ongoing. And we have the ability to bring more rigs in and to extend the contracts as required. Also at Norseman, we have the Jimbalana and Mission Sill prospects. These are slightly earlier stage in that we have done a lot of air core drilling in the area. And we have demonstrated that there are palladium, nickel, and copper anomalism over 10 kilometers of strike at the Mission Sill prospect. We also have the Jimbalana prospect where we have hit massive sulfides with some mineralization. So it's telling us that these areas, as well as Callisto, are very prospective and they warrant a lot more drilling. So part of the money that we raised recently will be spent on exploring these new areas as well. Next slide, please. And the next slide. I'll just mention briefly the Fraser Range joint venture project. Next slide. We've been exploring in this area for a number of years. We are in a joint venture with the Creasy Group, our major shareholder. The way we explore in the Fraser Range is through geophysics. We are exploring for undercover mineralized systems. We have been successful in identifying 2 mineralized systems with sulfides. However, it appears that both of those mineralized systems aren't economic. But what it's telling us is that our exploration methodology is effective in identifying sulfide mineralization, and we continue to do EM surveying in the area, building up a suite of targets for drill testing. Next slide, please. That's a magnetic map of the region that we are focusing on in the Fraser Range at the moment. We have the Green Moon and Easterly prospects. We also have a new tenement to the south. We're doing wide-ranging EM surveys, looking to build up a number of targets, and then we'll go and drill test all of those. Next slide, please. So as well as the Norseman project, we are actively exploring in the Fraser Range. We are well funded for all of our exploration programs we have coming up. We believe we have an early discovery market valuation, and if we continue to be successful, then we'd expect to see that valuation change again. We've demonstrated the prospectivity of the Norseman region. We believe there's the potential for that region to be a palladium province. This is the first time economic mineralization of that type has been discovered in Norseman. And from there, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot more mineralization is found in the area. We are a very active explorer with a highly experienced team. And very importantly, we are focused on the high demand metals, palladium, platinum, nickel, copper, cobalt, and rhodium. Thanks for listening. And if we have any questions.
We do have some questions, Brad. Thank you. Congratulations. You've come a long way over the last 12 months. Can you talk us through the capital raising? You've managed to raise $20 million in a very difficult market. Did that introduce some more significant or more sophisticated investors back onto the register?
Yes, we're very well supported by our major shareholders in that placement. We also have a number of early stage investments from institutions. So as is typical for those types of funds, they like to take a relatively small amount and then build their position over time. So it was very well supported, and it was also completed in a time where the market was very volatile. So I think it has helped support our share price during that period of volatility, because it's demonstrated to the market that our major shareholders are very supportive. And if they think $1.20 a share is a good price, then I think that indicates to the market something about the share price at that point in time.
It certainly does. There's a question here. You have 5 kilometres of strike at Callisto. Where does it look like it's going, and where do you think the most value will come from this discovery?
Yeah, so that's quite a difficult question, and the main reason why we're doing a lot more drilling. So at the moment, we've drilled on such a tight drill spacing that it's hard to understand the metal distribution. So there's 2 parts to it. One is the sulfide blanket that overlies, that is at the base of the sill. So the sulfide blanket appears to be consistent as we drill at that position, but the metal content within the sulfide changes. And that's the trick, is to understand the high value metal content and where it's going. At this early stage, we can say that the sediment is dipping to the east, and it appears that there is some plunge component to the metal distribution within the sulfide. We really just have to do a lot more drilling to understand that.
And the company, really, the focus has really changed from exploration to resource development. How significant does this kind of change the outlook for the company? And personally, how rewarding has this been, and how difficult is it to manage this kind of transition?
I think it's completely changed the nature of our company from early stage exploration through to resource development. I think we are lucky in that our team has done a lot of resource drilling before and experienced this type of growth before in other companies. So we aren't unfamiliar with it. It is part of our professional careers to make discoveries. It doesn't happen very often. If it happens every 5 years, I think that's a good result. So personally, we are very happy that we have again managed to make a discovery. And I think it's a reflection of the team and the support that we have that we've been able to get this far.
And can you give us a kind of insight? We've kind of always asked this question, but given you're ramping things up quickly, what are the kind of current stresses in the exploration industry? How hard is it to get rigs and get assay results back?
Things have improved in terms of rig availability and assays. The assay return time from the lab is still 3 to 4 weeks. Over Christmas, it had blown out to 12 to 14. So things have improved in that area. Where we are struggling a little bit, but we are still managing to be successful, is in the recruitment of really good quality staff. So there's a huge labour shortage in Western Australia across all industries, and we have been affected by that.
And Brad, just another question here. You've kind of got an aggressive exploration program underway, having kicked off the third round of RC with diamond drilling to start next week. What are you hoping this drilling will tell you about the regional potential at Norseman?
There's the chance that the drilling we're undertaking at the moment is going to blow the whole region wide apart. So if we are successful in drilling 1 kilometre to the north and 2 kilometres to the north, and we can demonstrate the mineralisation is still there, and we know that the host rocks continue for over 10 kilometres at some of the other sills, then that could be really significant. And that's part of the reason we're undertaking the drilling. We've got the drilling around the mineralisation we have at the moment, and then we've got the long strike drilling. So the potential is there to be a real game changer, but we'll just have to wait for the drill results.
And Brad, that's all we have time for, unfortunately. Congratulations on your success. We'll follow with interest. There's a few more questions here. I'll shoot them to you over the weekend if you don't mind.
Great. Thanks very much, Tim.